Identifying.
The king of cakes. Chopper for the win.
G'day guys, welcome back to Cakes by Chopper. Today we have Bluey for you. If you are not familiar with Bluey, you need to Google it, check it out. This cartoon is amazing, kids love it. This is my first freestanding cake. It was a bit of a new thing and I wanted to challenge myself. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Tell me what you'd like to see. If you want to see how to make it, let's get started. First thing you're going to do is collect the template from the Cakes by Choppa's Facebook page. We'll cut out the individual circles and then we can cut them out of our cake. On the template, you'll see these two bars here, which I've added in for his legs in case you do one that's sitting down that is not using a cake stand. So you'd still make him the same way, but you just put his legs out the front using those two pieces. Once you've got all your pieces cut out, you're going to prepare your stand. I know this doesn't look high enough, but once we fill it, it'll add that extra height and it should all pan out because you've got to include space for the fondant, the filling, and the coats. Prep this little bottom stand piece and lay down some ganache that's going to help the cake stick. Then we'll take our bottom layer and make sure that is even and gently push it onto the stand. Now we'll add some ganache to that as a filling. Measure where these are and just cut out some little indents to make it not split the cake so easily. Where I'm just cutting out little V's, which when I push that on, now you can see they fit into that groove and they're gonna hold the cake on with a little bit more ganache. Not too much because you don't want it to push the cake apart. You want it to hold it together and just be like a glue. And do the same on this side, taking the little grooves, pushing them in. Give that a nice tight press. And then you are ready for the next helping of ganache. Then lastly, place your top layer on. Start covering with ganache, which is a very new concept being up on a stand. And you got to remember to also do underneath. So we're going to cover the top, the sides, and underneath so the fondant's got something to stick to. A good tip is to soften your ganache just a little bit so you don't have to apply too much pressure, and that way you're not overbalancing the cake. I've amended the template to be 4 layers, so when you make this, you'll need 4 sections of cake because once I put his nose on, it was not quite high enough. So I'm gonna add this, just recoat, apply the nose, then put it in the fridge. When applying the nose, I'm going to slightly curve the middle so it has a tighter stick onto the head. And give that quite a firm push. Now to make this a little bit easier, I've softened the ganache and I'm going to go around. The reason I applied it with some cooler ganache, which is quite firm, it'll help with the structural integrity, whereas the soft ganache now, once it's stuck there, it's a lot easier to coat. Okay, so now it's out of the fridge. The chocolate has firmed up quite a bit. I'm going to go over with my spatula and just do a clean up where we try and take out all the bumps and just get a smoother finish. As you can see here, I'm using small bits of the warmed up ganache just to patch in around the nose and give that seal a bit of an extra hold, I guess, especially around the edges and up underneath. I've pre-colored some fondant. I have my base blue, my light blue, some purple, and I'll make some orangey tan later. These two are from Sapphire Sky, the Sugar Arts Master Elite Collection. Amazing colors. If you can get your hands on these babies, I highly recommend it. So I only use the smallest amount to get such vibrant, beautiful colors. Okay, to make this easier on yourself, you're going to square off the fondant. So I make a little square pattern, then I start rolling that out. And I want to try and keep it in that square shape. So I'm going to move that back and forward. If you do get any air bubbles, just have your little pinpricker to the side and get them while they're big. Then you can just continue rolling and they virtually disappear. Then I'm going to just place that on the back, flip it over. Got a little more than I expected. There we go. And just put that on. And because this ganache is still cold, it's not going to stick as much. So you can trim straight away. Don't tear, don't do that. Don't do what I just did and tear. That is the worst thing you can do. I don't know why I did that. because that's going to stretch your fondant and do that crease, which we do not want. And with underneath, I'm just going to tuck that up. We did put the ganache there. Just you want to make sure it goes to the legs underneath the bottom and sticks. Okay, now I should have trimmed this neater first, which I'm going to go clean that up so we have a nice join. See, we've got a nice line there. Go do the same on the other side. I'm actually going to cut him back a little further here. So now for the front piece, we're going to square it off. If your rolling pin starts to stick like that, just give it a little bit of cornstarch and you're good to go. From the bottom, pushing it on, bringing it up under his nose, and then roll that across the top and hope for the best. Now the majority of the weight was already applied to the front of the cake, so that when I pull this over, you're going to not get as much tearing on his nose. Just make sure you've got the air bubbles out. When you push it on, you'll be able to see here where the lining is, where you've cut. So I like to cut a little bit back behind that line. And again, I'm being very careful not to tear. I'm actually going to cut this one. Cut the excess. You could use scissors here if you want. I find if I just cut a little bit lower, I'm going to take the edible glue and you're just going to run that down the seam. Let that get all sticky. And then when you push that in, you'll see here, as I start to scrape that across, that line starts to disappear. This also helps the pieces glue together. It's probably best to use a paintbrush. The fondant has sealed and it's started to firm up. I gave it a light smoothing over with a fondant smoother. So I'm going to take some of the violet fondant. I've just rolled out a loose oval of what I need. Use some edible glue and I'll put some guidelines here of where I need this to stick. Just around here. You don't want to put any in the middle at the top. You just want to do where the lines are. Have a look at your reference photo, because what I've done here, I've had a look, it goes down the side, but there's a blue patch up the middle, which I assume goes to the ears. So I'm going to do that right here. When I place this on, then I can use my cutting tool to cut that away. Then I can lift that out, and with my brush, just smooth that in. And then Bluey's face seems to come down, around like this, and then all the way around. Now I'm just going to slice the back nice and even. Okay, take some of your tan colored fondant, try and get as thin as you can. You don't want it too thin, but you don't want it too thick. I'm gonna roll it out to a nice thickness where it's just lightly raised, it's not sticking out too much. Now I'm gonna get my edible glue, and I'm going to coat. What do you think of my new painting brushes from Tanya Hennessy? Tanya girl, I love them. They're fantastic. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint that on with the glue. So it sort of comes back over this side, and I'm gonna finish it flat that side, which means this side will only have a very thin line. And don't forget to paint up underneath, because you want the fondant to stick there as well. Now, I'm going to start from the top. It's going to come down, up and under, applying it to the nose first, then gently bringing it around from the bottom, and leave the top hanging out like that, because when you cut this, the bottom part is all attached. The top has a curve to it, so you can use that curve to cut off that excess. You want to make sure the bottom is applied, because that's the part that you're going to leave on. I'm going to look at my reference picture and trim from here. So I start from the top of the nose, goes down. And I said I want his mouth to go roughly to there. Bring that out and around, pushing that in. I want it to come up and over. Now bring this piece all the way around and connect that up. So now I should be able to remove that gently, push it back. I'm not too worried about the edges. Okay, now around this trim here, Bluey has a very light blue. So what I'm doing is cutting thin strips that I'm going to line with. Go around the edge with edible glue. I think this one is going to be the best one. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do for Bluey is roll out her tummy piece. The little blue part on her belly. Again, not too thick. You want it to be just the right thickness. I'm just gonna do a semicircle, then just neaten up the bottom so when you put it on underneath it doesn't look like a train wreck. I'm gonna apply the edible glue underneath. I'm just gonna make sure I paint the entire surface. Start by applying underneath, bring up over the front, and then down at the side. Trim off the excess underneath. On Bluey's back, she has 3 spots. So roll out some more violet, then we're gonna cut 3 different sized circles. We have one large, then we have a smaller one. The big one is down here. So put that big one, a smaller one up above it, covering one of the mistakes. Then we will put another one. Yeah, let's put it over there just to cover the mistake. You can be a little bit more freer with them. Technically it should go about there, but I'm going to cover a mistake with it. Now we're going to go with Bluey's ears. Pinch the edges and make it to this diamond shape because we're making 2 dog ears. I'm going to do the same with the brown. But we've got a little bit of flexibility here with the brown. We can roll it and cut the shape we want. Just round off those edges and make it a bit nicer. I'm going to try and keep Bluey's ear quite thick. Place that on. And we're going to bring that up. You can just see it squeezing up, push down, squeeze up. And that's going to embed that into the fondant, but keep its shape. Cut that in half. We're going to have one ear here and one ear there. Alright, let's angle them forward. Okay, for Bluey's legs, what I'm going to do is take some of the dark blue, which is going to join from underneath the body, and some of the light blue, which is going to be the bottom parts of the thing where you add the feet. So I'm going to get them, roll them out, roughly to the same thickness. Okay, that seems to be the right height. Just so I get a nice connection, I'm going to trim that. Place them together so we get a nice straightish line. Trim, trim, and then in the middle. Now what you should have is the panel of blue and dark blue. So 2 panels like that. I'm going to place that on where I want the join to be, bring it around and just seal it and push that fondant up underneath. Same on the other leg. Normally, if this cake was for somebody, I'd spend a little bit more time on it, but for the purpose of the video, I'm going to just continue on. I'm going to make 2 little balls, roll them, then I'm going to squish them like that, pinch a piece out, then I'm going to place it on and bring them around using the brush with some edible glue to melt that in. Then to get Bluey's little toes, I'm just going to use my needle, push it in. Now that we're happy with the legs and the feet, we're going to move on to the arms. I think if I just roll out 2 snakes, we want to look for uniform size. I'm going to cut down there on an angle so that creates like a shoulder. Then these 2 pieces that we've cut off, we're going to push that in with our thumb, place the ball in the middle. That's going to create a larger rounded area, which is perfect for the hand. Get some edible glue, start at the side, rub that all around with the flat edge, bring that over where you want the line to be, push that on top, smooth it down, make sure it goes right in around underneath. Then you're going to cut away a little bit on around so you've got enough to fold in under, that way you don't see any of the seam. Then we lift and fold that over, pushing it in. Now using your pin tool, I'm going to put in 1, 2 to make it look like a little paw. A little bit more edible glue all the way around. And we're going to place that there, hiding the mistake and the seam. We'll just give that arm a little bit of a curl. Do the same for the other side, which I've already stuck on. My best trick for getting eyes the same size, you roll 1 ball, then you cut it down the middle, put down a little bit of corn flour. Then I'm going to just press that down and shape the eyes. Place the eye on, Okay, so with the other side, you're going to just place that on. A little bit of the violet. I'm just going to cut out a rounded triangle. A little bit of edible glue. Another face detail is some eyebrows. Some of the light blue. Roll it into a fat sausage. I'm going to chop it in two, so we've got two even eyebrows. Same technique, just roll it around, tuck them under, smooth it out so you've got nice rounded edges. Edible glue, pop it on the top. With Blue's mouth here, if you don't want to do the open mouth, you want to avoid it being so tricky, you can just do two little pieces around here. So you cut it off underneath the snout and just put little smile lines. But I went for the open mouth, and the easiest way to do that is to use one of these click twist brushes. I had these on in my live stream. You just click it a few times and the die comes out. So for Blue's eyes, she has quite large black circles. I'm going to use the same gel pen because I get such good lines with this. Okay, as you can see, that's really, really easy with the gel pen. I'm going to use a little bit of white. I'm going to create Blue some teeth. I'm just going to roll a bit thinner than that. I don't want it so heavy. I'm going to use some of the edible glue, remove a little bit so it becomes tacky. Then I'm going to glue that there. And for the teeth, just gently push up. Make sure you angle the tool around with the teeth. Use a little bit of my Sugar Art Sassy Pink. And when I say a little bit, I mean the tiniest bit, because I'm only using a very small piece of fondant. Find the smoothest surface, then I can put that on. The dye that we just painted on there will help. And I'm just going to manipulate that around. Using my tool, give the little tongue crease. And last but not least, we have the tail. You're going to roll a very fat sausage and make it clubbed at the end. And the tail's just going to sit down off the back. So we need to smooth that out a bit. Just roll out a flat piece. I'm just going to place that over like the hand. Put that around. Cut it off so it goes enough to tuck up under. Now, same thing again, but you don't want to go too far. So I might use that to make it a little bit bigger. Use the end of the brush. Then you can just bring that in. And I'm just going to let the tail rest there, but you've got to tilt it so it's down at the bottom and people don't see the join. I'm not going to make that fully disappear because you are supposed to see where the tail joins. Once you're happy with everything where it's sitting and how it looks, we're going to just give Blue a steam and then you're finished. So there you go, guys. Blue has been steamed. This is the finished result. What do you reckon? This is my first freestanding cake. It was fun. It was fun. As I said before, you don't need to make it standing. You can actually make Blue sitting down. You just build it the same way, sit it on the table, put the legs out the front, you're good to go. I just wanted to do something a little different that I haven't done before. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below what you'd love to see next. And be sure to check out these videos that I'm suggesting here, and also this amazing YouTuber that I've chosen to highlight on my channel. Community is all we have. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll catch you next time.